Hello, dear ones. I want to share a story with you that involves trust. But before I do that, I want to share with you that Rob and I have just returned from the ordination of Arif Mamdani, a former intern of Unity Church-Unitarian. He was ordained by the First Universalist Church of Minneapolis, where he serves as one of the ministers. And it was such an honor and privilege to participate in this ritual. And Rob and I had the great honor of participating in the laying on of hands ritual, which is where we acknowledge the passing on of the mantle of ministry and how important it is to support one another in that ministry as it unfolds. It was wonderful to be with Arif and his family. But now let me share the story that I wanted to share with you, which is a story about anger. Because what I know is that in my most trusted relationships, those trusted relationships can hold anger generously, and that I can be angry and petulant and even petty, and can own that and say, I know I'm just being petty, but I just need to blow off this steam with you. And I also know that in my most trusted relationships, I can actually say to people, I'm angry at you, I'm disappointed, and then we can engage with each other generously as we try and build a bridge with that anger. So for me, one of the basic pieces of building a trusting relationship is, can I be angry with you? Can I be angry about the state of the world, but can I be angry at you when you disappoint me or do something that I think is out of line? Can I call you on your behavior? And can you call me on my behavior and say, you're out of line? And so what I want to share with you is a story about a father and a daughter. Now, this little girl had what we would call an anger issue. She got angry really easily, and her family was concerned about it. And her father said, I'm going to take you out to the fence in the field, and you and I are going to talk about anger. Because I understand that you get angry really easily, and I understand anger. But what I want you to do is every time you feel angry, I want you to come to this fence, I want you to take a nail, and I want you to take the hammer and drive in a nail. On that first day, this little girl drove in 37 nails. The next day, it was about 22. Each day, the number of nails that she drove into the fence lessened. And each day, she would talk to her father about how she was feeling. And he said, you know what? I think you are beginning to work with your anger and understand that you can be angry and not necessarily explode and express it in ways that you've been like exploding in the classroom and other places, that you can contain it and acknowledge it and hammer in that nail. And so slowly, over time, fewer and fewer nails got hammered into that fence. One day, she came to her father and said, I didn't hammer a single nail today. And he said, well, let's start paying attention to that. And so a number of days passed, and he said, how about on the days that you do not put a nail in the fence, you actually pull one out. And so he taught her with the hammer how to pull out a nail, and she pulled out a nail. And slowly over time, all the nails got removed from the fence. And the father was so pleased with his daughter, and so pleased that their relationship had created a context and a container where she could talk about her anger and learn to deal with it. And he said, everybody gets angry, but look at all these holes in the fence. And sometimes when we express anger, it leaves a hole in a relationship. So one of your tasks when you express anger is to examine the hole and figure out, have I done damage? So they walk away and they talk about how to make amends and how to apologize and how to build trust in relationships where you've expressed anger. What they didn't know is that there were some hikers that came by this fence and they saw all the holes in the fence. They didn't know what these holes were about, but they began to imagine. And they thought, what can we do with these holes? Because they were worried about the fence actually falling down because there were a lot of holes in that fence. So they decided that they would come back on their next walk and that they would fill the holes with seeds. And so those seeds became food for birds flying by, but they also began to sprout. And they began to grow vines and plants on that very fence. And what I want to end this story with is the message is that we were made for these times. We are looking at all the holes in the fence of our world and our democracy, and we are trying to find ways to put seeds in that fence and to mend that fence and to imagine a different world. And so imagine with me as we move ever closer to this election and what might be possible in the world beyond it. Thank you.